Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Reviews, and today we're doing our review of Guardians by August Burns Red. Alright, so we're late on this album. This album came out early April 3rd I believe it came out. It is currently May 29th. This week we basically had nothing to review, nothing of interest. We decided we're gonna go back and pick one that we, missed out on. We had a poll, you guys voted on this.
Not to mention, by the way, August, this album destroyed that poll.
It did.
Like, out of 3 albums, this one had like 40% at least.
Yeah.
So you guys really wanted this one.
Yeah, and I understand why, because it is actually a really good album. August Burns Red doesn't really make bad music. These guys are very consistent, they're very talented, and they have a pretty impressive discography. Like, you could put any August Burns Red album and enjoy the thing from front to end, in my opinion. But they definitely do have high points and low points in their career. At the beginning of the week, because we listened to this album all week, my thoughts were that this album is really solid. I thought this is like Messengers, Constellations level August Burns Red to me, and that's like highlight pinnacle August Burns Red, like Constellations, Messengers, pinnacle. This was falling in line with those. Unfortunately, towards the end of the week, that opinion started to change a bit. The boredom factor started to set in for me. That kind of factor where things start blending in and sounding the same and nothing's really standing out. That started happening to me with this album. But I still did enjoy it. I want to talk about just a couple standout tracks. My favorite tracks on the album. My second favorite track was Defender, which is a single they released with a video. We loved the video, we reacted to it. It was awesome video, one of the best videos we've ever seen. And that song is just phenomenal. This is just August Burns Red doing what they do best. The breakdown in that song is probably the best breakdown on the album. Awesome song. But my favorite song on the album has to be track number 1, The Narrative. This song just hits the right spots for me in every way. I love the way it opens. The riff in this song is fucking great. It's one of these songs where the riff is very consistent throughout the song, because a lot of the songs they change the riffing and stuff a lot. Riffing's very consistent, but they do this thing where they add a tail end to the riff after a certain point. Like, they do the riff for the first few bars, maybe the first verse and chorus or something, and then they start doing that riff again, but they add a tail to it. They add a few more, another section to the end of it, which just gives it more flavor, gives it some just, more dynamics and things like that. And I really like stuff like that. I've also been told that this is a song that was written by the bass player, which is not exactly normal. The rest of the songs are, I think, written by the singer. But that was the first song they wrote for the album. The bass player wrote it, first one recorded, and it happened to be track number 1. And for me, it's the best track on the album. The rest of the songs, good, but they all kind of just are there for me. Nothing really grabs me or stands out to me for the rest of the tracks, but I can listen to them and I can enjoy them thoroughly. I just don't have a lot to say about them.
Well, I guess that's a fair assessment. As for me, I actually listened to this album like once or twice around the time that it came out, and my first impression at the time was, what the hell, this is really good, super solid, what? So coming back to it for this week of like more intense listening, I felt the same way. I think this album's super solid, and I think there's a lot of standout points. And it's funny you mentioned The Narrative having a riff that completes itself as the song goes, because one of my favorite tracks, Dismembered Memory, does the same thing. I believe around the chorus, the 1 minute 32 second mark, there's this guitar line that plays, but it's incomplete. But you don't know that yet, but it's not a complete line. But the next time that comes back at the end of the song, it's complete. It has more to it. And I think that's really cool that they introduced this musical motif, but it's incomplete at the time, and then complete it later. And you can also hear that same motive throughout other like rhythm guitar related things throughout the song. Like, it's a thing that keeps coming back, but that's kind of like the lead guitar playing it. It was really interesting. Defender's breakdown. I love Defender. It's another one of the standout tracks for me.
Yeah.
But this breakdown, if you think about it, is a pretty simple breakdown. You got this build up, there's like nothing playing, the singers, and then it drops.
Yeah.
Pretty standard. But what makes it special is the way that it's sung. The instruments stop. There is no judge. I am the jury and the defendant. The gavel has no hand. Who will deliver the sentence? Boom.
Yeah.
And that moment builds up so much hype. The way he's saying, like, deliver the sentence, and then it fucking hits.
Yeah.
Is one of the most powerful breakdowns I've ever heard.
Very effective.
Just, it's so well done in that sense. And that's such a small thing that just boosts it that much. Because if it wasn't for something like that, the breakdown wouldn't be that special. So the fact that there's that much depth to it is very impressive.
Good point.
Another song I really liked is Extinct by Instinct. This is one of the songs that really jumped out at me early on because in the bridge it has a really calm, quiet part. And there were some songs on Phantom Anthem, which we did cover on this channel, by the way, back when it came out in 2017. There were a bunch of songs on that album that did a similar thing to this one, but this one has more of a almost Latin-esque rhythm to it, and I really liked that. And another thing I really like about the song, in comparison to the tracks of Phantom Anthem, is that this is really the only song that does that. Phantom Anthem, it was a good album, but it did have a lot of songs that did that, like same kind of form. So I like that this album has a lot more variance in song forms and ideas. Like there's a lot more different stuff happening.
Right.
So that's also really cool. Another song I liked was Bloodletter. That song, honestly, to me, felt like it was kind of harking back to an older sound for August Burns Red. And what I mean by that, it was very dark, deep, and very raw sounding. I feel like it's the most comparable to older ABR than most of the tracks on the album.
In ways, yeah. I felt a lot of the songs on this album are very to the point. They're not trying to be overly technical. They're not trying to like impress you and throw things in your face or try experimental things. It's very to the point, which to me sounds a lot like older ABR. Bloodletter, I see what you're coming from, but I don't think we're connecting the same way. I think just musically, in some aspect, it sounds older, but there's a deepness to it that doesn't sound like old ABR to me. It just sounds more like they're really trying extra hard to be more aggressive on this song, which is a good thing because it adds to that variance that you talked about a minute ago. So that song stands out because it's got a lower tone than the rest of the songs on the album. It's the vocals are deeper, the growl is deeper, the guitars might even be tuned a little lower. It's just a more badass sounding song.
It is. It's super mean, especially like you have this halftime groove in 4 where guys, they're playing a riff that just goes up and down a semitone, and it's like the meanest sounding thing. Yeah. And one cool thing about that song I really like is the intro, like the main kind of, rhythmic thing is that they're doing a few bars of 7 and then a bar of 9, which is really interesting sounding. Yep. Kind of keeps you on your toes. You can't really fall asleep to that.
No. Yeah, that's cool stuff too. Like that's also classic ABR, like playing with time signatures, doing some odd signatures, some syncopated, rhythms and things like that, which a lot of bands do, but it's a signature of the band.
Yeah. Now about the vocals, one thing I really liked about this, and you just touched upon that already, is that there is a lot of variance in the vocals. On a song like Bloodletter, there are a lot of deeper kind of growls. Usually you have like a moderate mid-range of the screams for this album. Yeah. But if you look at a song like Empty Heaven, you have a lot of layering going on between harsh vocals. You have like a mid-range and a high range and a little bit of low all at the same time, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah, with that said, I'd say the album is mixed very well, and that's a testament to that. I don't think really I have much more to say. I'm pretty much ready to rate unless you have more to add.
I mean, out of the notes I wrote, there's only one more song, and that is Lighthouse. Now, this song has a really like kind of calm moment near the end. The way I like to call it the Praise Jesus moment. This is a Christian band, and when this song comes on, you just, it's like, all right, everybody, let's praise the Lord. Woo!
Okay.
And I felt that way for a song called Generations on the last album, but on that song, to me, felt really corny with that section. But Lighthouse doesn't feel super corny. In fact, it honestly feels more motivational than Praise Jesus to me.
Yeah.
But, I just wanted to mention that I feel like a lot of the things I noticed from this album are just direct upgrades from the last record.
Yeah, and record previous to that as well.
Fair enough.
Anyways, let's rate it. What do you give it?
All right, well, I mean, I've said my bit. I think this album overall is really well put together, really well performed, and I think it honestly does a lot of the things right that other albums kind of faltered on, so this gets my toe tag. Honestly, man, I loved it throughout the whole week. Every time I listened to it, I was really enjoying it, and I feel like a lot of people can really latch onto it. It just hits all the right spots.
Fair enough. I unfortunately didn't love it throughout the whole week. I do think it's a strong album. I think it's got a lot of high points to it, but for me, it's just not quite enough. If I listen to older albums like Constellations or Messengers, I feel like those albums are a lot stronger from beginning to end. And if I compare my review here to what I thought about Phantom Anthem, which, like he said, we reviewed, I feel like it lines up very similarly with that album, and I gave that one a 7. I feel like this is along the same lines as that, so I'm gonna give this a 7 as well. Fortunately, it's not gonna get 2 toe tags. It just didn't have enough standout performance for me to really elevate it to that toe tag level, unfortunately, but it is still a really good level. You guys should check it out. It's got a lot of great songs on it. If you guys are ABR fans, you'll probably love it. If you're not ABR fans, this could be an album that can get you into the band. It's one of those types of things. So let us know in the comments below if you guys like this album, if you guys agree with my score or his score, or what score you would give it, standout tracks, whatever you want to put down below, just write some stuff. We'll read it and respond, maybe, hopefully, probably. Anyways, guys, that's it for this review. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Links to our Spotify playlist are in the description. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
And we'll see you guys on the next video. Later.